Want the highest quality, lightest, best-looking mini-sprint parts in the industry? Need tech support, expert advice, and guided instructions? Look no further than www.hyperracing.com.
Welcome to On the Scene at the 2013 Kerry Gilbert Memorial Day Open at Lanco Speedway. For late May, the weather was unusually cold, however that did not keep teams away. The weekend's action would see both the winged and the wingless 600s in competition. 43 winged drivers and 41 wingless drivers would take to the high banks of Lanco. The winged portion of the event would run first and be staggered throughout the night to ensure plenty of time for drivers competing in both events to convert their cars over. 6 heat races would take to the track for the winged cars, with the top 3 transferring to the feature. Top 2 from each heat would be eligible for the redraw. Mike Rutherford would win heat race number 1 over Tyler Walton and Cameron Morrill. Heath Hanley would win heat number 2 in dominating fashion by half a track over Paul Graham and Ryan Morris. Travis Esch took heat 3 over Jack Conover and Rick Perrone. Shane Lewis was hooked up at Lanco as he normally is and took heat number 4. Lee Nardelli crossed the line in second. Tim Ewell was third. Brian Carber won heat race number 5, followed by Chris Gerhart and Chris Pansner. Brent Ely would lead every lap of the final winged heat race to take the checkered flag. Eric Bodine in the 99 was second, and Luke Thomas would take the final qualifying spot out of the heat races.
Where's Brent Ely?
The redraw would see 5 drivers pull uphill before the 1 pill was taken. Driver number 6, Brent Ely, and he would pull the 1. Chris Gerhart would pull the number 2 pill, starting him on the outside of row number 1 for the feature. There would be 3 consolation races for the winged cars. Top 2 of each would move on. The cousins Esch, Tyler, and Jarrett would finish 1-2 and become the first 2 cars into the main event. Steve Kemry would win Consi number 2 and CJ Tracy transferring through with second. The third and final Consi would go to Mike Dicely, debuting his new Hyper, and the final qualifier of the evening for the winged cars, Tyler DeVault. The lineup was set. Brent Ely and Chris Gerhart would lead the field of 24 to the green flag. Ely would take the early lead off of turn 2, but the 15P of Chris Pansner would come to a stop after catching a tire, and it would be a complete restart. Ely would again take the lead over Conover, who was hooked up early, and would pass Ely, crossing the line on lap 2 just before the yellow flag came out for a spinning Jarrett Esch. Conover was in charge of the field coming to the restart. Ely second, Gerhart third, Mike Rutherford fourth, Shane Lewis fifth. The green would fly and the car on the move was Rutherford. He would already have Gerhart and Ely cleared off of turn 2 for the second spot. By lap 7, Conover had almost a straightaway lead. Rutherford had a battle on his hands with Shane Lewis, the two trying to reel in Conover. On lap 11, the yellow would fly for Tyler Esch, spinning in turns 1 and 2. On the next restart, Conover leads over Rutherford, Lewis, Gerhart, and now Hanley. On lap 24, Rutherford was there, with Lewis in tow. Rutherford would go low, Lewis would go high, both cars overtaking Conover for the top 2 spots. The battle was on for the race lead. For the next 2 laps, the 2 leaders would trade slide jobs, until finally a yellow flag would settle things down on lap 16 for the pole setter, Brent Ely. Half the race down, and Rutherford paces the field through the cone. He would get out to about a half a straightaway lead, but the caution would fly just a couple laps later when the 18 of Tyler DeVault spins. "20 laps down to the scheduled 30. Rutherford leads Lewis and Conover, and now Hanley moving into 4th, but the yellow flag would fly again 3 laps later for Ryan Morris and Chris Pansner, getting together in turn 3. Eric Bodine would pick up 2 spots on the last restart, now up to 3rd, but Hanley wasn't just going to hand it over. The battle would be until lap 24 when Conover would spin in turn 2. With Rutherford still leading, they'd take the green again, only for a lap as Ryan Morris would spin, this time off of turn 2. The final restart with 5 laps to go. Rutherford would run it in low in 1 and 2, high in 3 and 4, keeping a small cushion over Lewis. On the final lap, Lewis would dive into 3 and 4 under Rutherford, sliding up the track, but Rutherford was able to keep the advantage, driving off the top to the win of the winged feature race, followed by Lewis, Bodine 3rd, Hanley 4th, and Tyler Walton rounding out the top 5. Now the winged races were finished. It was time to take the wings off. The sun was down and it was getting a little chilly. The track had now seen about 8 hours of action from 5 different classes, and she was getting a little slick. There would be 4 heat races for the wingless cars. Top 4 in the heats would move on, top 3 would redraw. In Heat 1, Tyler DeVault, Shane Lewis, Will Orkuski, and Mike Rutherford would be the first 4 drivers across the line. They would qualify. Heat 2 saw Brian Carver taking the victory over James Morris, Ryan Morris, and Tyler Esch. Heat number 3, Bruce Ginther Jr. over Tim Howe, Tom Shear, and Brittany Brown. Heat race number 4, it's Steve Kemry. Second place goes to Heath Hanley. Third place to Chris Gerhart, and the final guy to move through out of the heat races is CJ Tracy. The top 4 drivers from each of the 2 constellations would transfer to the feature and set the field. It's Eric Bodine in Consi number 1 over Pansner, Andy Martin, and Greg Stevens. In Consi 2, Tim Mule would take the checkered flags, followed by Dicely, Travis Esch, and the final car in, remember this name, Ryan Hook. The 2 a.m. hour would roll around and 24 wingless cars would roll onto the track for the Kerry Gilbert Memorial. Kerry was a competitor, a volunteer, and a great friend to anybody who came in contact with him. He loved wingless racing, and he loved it at the Clyde, and we're sure he's looking down and watching as these drivers get ready to go at it. Shane Lewis and Chris Gerhart would lead the field to the green after the redraw. Lewis would get the jump on Gerhart early, Ryan Morris going to work on Gerhart as well, but Brian Carver would end up getting by both of them and setting his sights on Lewis. The caution would fly on lap 7 for Brittany Brown, who had a busted front end. Caution number 1 of the event. At this point, Lewis leads, Carver 2nd, Ryan Morris 3rd, James Morris is 4th, and Tyler DeVault is 5th. Carver would stay glued to Lewis's tail tank and threw a slider in turns 3 and 4 off the restart. Lewis crosses him over and took the lead back. Carver would slide to the high side off of turn 2 and grab the race lead again from Lewis. Ryan Morris would spin though before Carver could get back to the line, and that would give Lewis the race lead back. With the 96 of Morris spinning out of the top 5, James Morris would move to 3rd, DeVault to 4th, and there's Heath Henley again in 5th. The top 5 would stay the same until a caution would fly on lap 11 for Chris Gerhart spinning in turn 2. On the next restart, Travis Esch would spin, and the start of the field would get lined back up for the restart. "11 laps in now, and Lewis still leads Carver. Brian would try going to the bottom, but Lewis would gain so much momentum on the top, gaining 5 car lengths here and there before a yellow on lap 12 again for Ryan Morris. This restart would be all Shane Lewis. He would get out to almost a straightaway lead over Carver and James Morris until lap 20 when Tom Shear's car stalls in turn 4. 10 laps remain in the 30-lap feature. Lewis looks like he's going to be tough to beat. He had took off from Carver, leaving him to fend off James Morris and DeVault. Fend off is what Carver would do. DeVault would get a great run on the bottom in turn 2, and Morris would throw a slider on Carver in turn 3. Carver crosses Morris over to make it 3 wide as DeVault comes to the wall. They make contact, and Carver spins to the infield. 9 laps to go, and Carver's now out of the top 5. Steve Kemry now moves to 5th spot. Lewis would get out to a decent lead only for a yellow flag on lap 24 when CJ Tracy spins off of turn 4. Lewis would lead the field all night long. For another 3 laps of racing until Mike Dicely slowed, track officials would again be forced to throw the yellow flag. With time running out, Morris and DeVault would have to make one last-ditch effort on Lewis. It was a very short restart try as Bruce Ginther would spin on the backstretch. This would be the final restart off of that yellow flag. Lewis, checking out on the field. They only had 2 laps to get after him, but he drove away. On his way to the 2013 Kerry Gilbert Memorial Day Open Wingless feature win. It may be one of Lewis's last in the area as he moves to Connecticut for work. James Morris took a strong second, Tyler DeVault third, Hanley hung on for fourth, and Steve Kemry with an impressive 5th place finish. It was a long, cold night, but the racing action was hot. Congratulations to Mike Rutherford and Shane Lewis on their feature wins. Also congratulations going out to Mike Dicely and Ryan Hook for earning the 600 Scene Hard Charger Awards, Dicely in the winged race and Hook in the wingless. 600 Scene would like to thank Hyper Racing for their promotional advertising, which allows us to bring you coverage of these races. Plus we'd like to thank the Clyde for inviting us. And one more thanks we have to give is to all you viewers. Without you, our coverage would be pointless. We'll be back real soon on the scene here at 600scene.com.
Special presentation. It is the Kerry Gilbert Memorial Day Open Show. Gloria Gilbert here with a special plaque for winner. How about it, folks? Mike Rutherford.